I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Welcome back to another exciting episode of RxMuscle Spotlight. Today's show is going to feature our 2024 Chicago Pro 212 Pro Champion, Marcello Alfonsi, who's had one heck of a year. Welcome to the show, my friend, and congratulations on the big pro win.
Thank you, Dave. It's been such an honor to actually be talking to you and be here right now. It means the world to me. Everything that's been happening is just so overwhelming. Yeah,
I can't even believe your story. I mean, the story, because when Chris Aceto, who's obviously your coach, told me, you know, what was going on with getting the pro card, and then he made you do the pro show, and now you have the win and the Olympia qualification. It's really a whirlwind story. How the heck did you even get into bodybuilding to start with? Because I know originally you're from Brazil, correct?
Yeah, I'm originally from Brazil. I'm half Brazilian, half Italian in blood.
Good combination.
And I've been living in Canada on and off for the past 5 years or so.
Right.
I actually should have sent you the pictures. I actually have it here. So my first show ever was in 2014, and I actually went on stage as a men's physique. But I almost died on that show. Like, I literally knew nothing. I didn't even know like a protein was back then. Yeah, I was in Brazil, so I hired this guy, this local athlete from the gym. Really awesome guy, really good friends with me nowadays. But man, like back then, 2014 is like 10 years ago. It's not even that much. But you know, like when it comes to information, we didn't have much. So long story short, the last week leading to the show, I did like an 8 weeks prep. He had me on like 3 different kinds of diuretics for the whole week. And I do remember on Friday, 2 days before the show, my last water was like a bottle for the whole day. And he told me, okay, I want you to have this water with unflavored BCAAs for like doing your workout. I'm not sure in the US how it is, but in Brazil, at least, the unflavored BCAAs tasted like shit.
Disgusting, yeah.
Disgusting. Like, it tastes like chemicals. I don't even know. But I do remember like being so dehydrated and leading to the show, like all I could think of was water. I just wanted water. But anyways, like so after that, I couldn't even have BCAAs for like 3 years because I was afraid of that. But anyways, and then comes show day, right before stepping on stage, like 2 hours maybe, he said, okay, pin 5 IUs of Slen and have like a pizza or something. Back then, man, I was just a kid, so I didn't even know how to pin insulin. So instead of 20, I did 50 right before the show. So I recall like pinning the 50 IUs of insulin, having like maybe 2 slices of pizza.
Oh my God.
And then like taking the car and drive to the show. And like as I walk past the audience and like get to the backstage, I just
oh my God.
and then like my coach was there, so he helped me and he started giving me cookies. Yeah. Man, I kid you not. The cookies, like I was chewing them and I was so dehydrated, it didn't go down. It was like a block. So he gave me chocolate. And again, I kid you not, I can remember, like, even though it's 10 years ago, I had the chocolate. It didn't melt. It was like sand in my mouth.
You were so dehydrated, right?
Yeah. So he gave me like a full bottle like this of honey.
Well, you know what's interesting? We should note here, insulin, exogenous insulin doesn't work when you're dehydrated. Yeah. You know, a lot of times. So it doesn't function properly either, which is the worst thing to do is take insulin when you're not drinking anything, you know?
Yeah. But when he gave me like half a bottle of honey, pretty much, because he said,
my God,
if you drink water, you're going to be bloated on stage.
Oh my God.
Whatever. So in the end of the day, I survived.
Right. You didn't die. That's a good thing. Yeah.
My mom was there. She was crying because I was looking like a zombie. It was terrible. Like literally crying, like sad. But I get off stage and I'm like, I fucking loved it. You know, I almost died, but I loved it. However, if I want to continue doing this, I got to be safe. So that was 2014. 2015, I went to London. My family owns one apartment there. So I just lived in London for for a couple months. And there I started going to MuscleWorks, which is where I actually consider my start into bodybuilding, because that's where training culture was actually rooted within me. In Brazil, like most gyms won't even have like 60 pounds dumbbells. I mean, nowadays, after Ramon's and the
Right.
Rafaelas, bodybuilding is growing so much that now they have like private training centers and everything. But back then,
Sure.
it was nothing. But then in London is where things started to happen to me. Like when I actually met real bodybuilders, actually got the actual training culture within me. So nowadays, I still carry the London-ish style of training,
Right. Right. Right.
which is like my favorite, honestly. Like European bodybuilding is just very good. Like the amateur level is very good.
Right.
Yeah, but that's pretty much how I got into it. And then like 2016, and there's a nice story, like a really quick one. I stepped on my first stage as a bodybuilder. I was 19 years old. I'm 28 now.
Right.
Um, I won that show and I was number one. And in Chicago, so that was like my bodybuilding debut for life. And in Chicago was my pro debut. I was
Right.
also number one, like an
Oh,
incident.
that's
Yeah, so that's pretty nice.
number one is always a good number to have, right?
Yeah,
Especially
well,
if
I'm
you
hoping
finish
for
the
the
first
Olympia as
position.
well.
So talk to us. Let's bring it. So that brings us where you came from.
Yeah.
Now we're here in 2024. You decide to go for your pro card in
Yeah.
Vancouver, obviously because you have the Canadian, citizenship there. You're there anyway. What was your expectation of this show? Did you have any going into it?
Well, to be honest, so you mentioned that I've been working with Chris now, and yes, we've been working together. And I counted from when we started to the Chicago Pro, we only had like 11 weeks, and I was deep of season. Like when I contacted him in April-ish, I actually contacted him saying like, "Hey, I do believe I can be good, but I do need a year off season because 2023, like last year." Was literally natural for the whole year because I found out the heart problem after the COVID vaccine.
What was wrong with your heart?
I had like a ejection fraction insufficiency.
Wow.
So it was just weak, which meant if I wanted to keep on with bodybuilding, I could literally die.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, I love it and I want to go back into it. But however, I do need to see if I can fix my heart before. So 2023 was a whole year off, like literally natural. I mean, 100 mgs of test a week, TRT.
Wow.
But I healed my heart within that year. However, as I was natural for the whole year, I thought 2014 I would need an off season for the whole year. And then I contact Chris. He says like, "No, you have enough muscle. Let's go." So in 11 weeks, we went from like zero pretty much because I was natural for the whole year in 2023.
Right.
I mean, obviously dieting and training, but so from zero-ish to winning the first show 4 weeks ago, I won the overall there, and they had this different prize, like overall of the overall, so like best in the entire show. So I won that as well. So like pretty much 2 overalls in a show. A week after, there was also another show going on in Vancouver. I wanted to take advantage of it, so I went there. Also won the overall. A week after that, there was the Van Pro. And by the way, the Van Pro was in my mind since 2018 because I went there as a classic physique. I can send you the picture right now. And I placed dead last, literally, like in 2018. I was like dead last as a classic physique. So I told myself, when I go back to the Van Pro, I'm going to win it. So that's what I did. The Van Pro was the third show in 3 consecutive weeks. I won it. I won the overall, so I turned pro. The following day, just for fun, like literally, my weight was at 215.6, as I recall. I went against the open guys. There are some pictures there on the Instagram as well. You can see the pictures. There are comparison pictures as well. And honestly, I had so much fun because I went into it with like zero pressure in my mind. So if I go down the show, like I finished the open pro debut. Yeah, this one. Yeah, you can see it right there.
Yeah, you look great.
Yeah, thanks. That was like 215.6 pounds or something like that. But obviously, like I'm going. There was like the pro debut-ish as an open guy, being pretty much a 212, right?
Right.
So I had like no expectations to win it at all. Of course, I just wanted to have fun, which is what I did.
Right.
And then post-show, Chris calls me and said, like, listen, what do you think about doing Chicago? I'm going to be there. And, well, it's a week from now. I've done, like, this is the fourth show, like the Open. I didn't have any, like, celebration with friends. My mom is here. I still didn't eat anything. But you know what? Chris is going. I want to have the experience of, like, having there with a coach in person and, like, so he can see me. And this is going to pretty much set straight what a category I should be looking for. So I went for the Chicago, man, with like really just expectations to learn from Chris, to have the experience to be there with Chris in person, and to see myself against the 212 guys, but no expectations to win, just to have fun and learn. And then I ended up winning, which is great, and I'm so happy with.
All right, let's pull up those pictures. You sent me, these are some good ones. So this is from Chicago. Mm-hmm. Now, conditioning is insane here. I'm assuming you didn't drink one bottle of water and eat a pizza pie.
No insulin either.
No insulin needed. So tell us what you did here to look this good.
Well, with Chris is very, very easy. And like his feeling of things is so great. We didn't load into the show. I mean, honestly, we didn't load into any of those shows. We pretty much ran a high day, like a normal high day. Water was pretty much 2 liters the day before, so it wasn't any like crazy drops. And with each meal on the show day, I had like 250 mils. So we didn't really cut any water. And the foods were always the same, chicken, rice, there's no mystery. The funny thing with Chris voice, he says like, okay, have like 1 cookie. And I'm like, okay, which cookie? He's like, send me a picture of the cookie. Because he wants you to see like the size of the cookie, like in my hand or something, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. But honestly, man, like we didn't do anything crazy at all. We just went with what I had. And I guess to say that I was like just really conditioned for real. Like I did a practice.
Yeah, no, your conditioning was insane. I mean, I always say conditioning wins shows. I tell people that over and over and over again, and no one listens. People want to come in too full, and they want to, you know, they want to try to pretend they have more muscle than they have. But you know, at the end of the day, dry, freaky, hard, you know, muscle wins shows, and that's that's just a fact, you know, and you prove that. And so now you're going to the Olympia, and I'm assuming. Although I always get in trouble when I assume things, I'm assuming that you're going to shut it down now till the Olympia because this was your 5th show in a row?
It was the 5th show in a row, in like 5th in 4 weeks. So it's not even in 5 weeks.
Yeah, so that's pretty brutal on your body. I have to imagine that you're really
as light and healthy and mild as Chris is, because he really is. Like we're making this joke around. Like every time I check in, he says you should have used Tren. Because we pretty much like used no trend for the show at all. Like we used. I mean, I was supposed to use 100 per week,
right?
But honestly, I was like, well, I won't count 3 shots of like 33 mgs. So I was like, essentially, I did like 90 mgs a week for 4 weeks. Then it was over like 2 weeks before the first show of the season. Right. And I'm like, Chris, should I buy more? He's like, no, don't bother. So we pretty much didn't use any Tren, which is pretty cool.
Isn't that like sacrilegious? You didn't use Tren. Wow, imagine that.
Yeah.
Some of these guys wouldn't be able to sleep at night not knowing that they were using Tren, right?
No, like the whole point of not using Tren is to be able to sleep at night.
Sleep at night, yeah. No, but you know what it is? You can do a show on testosterone alone and be good.
Yeah.
Now, what's going on here? Chris is raving about your mother's cooking. How did Chris get to taste your mother's cooking in Chicago?
So my mom is a chef. Like we all, I mean, not we, my family, because I got away from all that. My parents own the best restaurant in our city for over 30 years now. So
where's the restaurant located?
Let me send you the IG.
Chris is not a big eater. Like I probably would appreciate that meal way more than Chris did, but he
loved it. I'm telling you, my mom is a great chef. So
I think at the Olympia, I'm gonna have to sneak in the meal with her. I think.
Yeah, definitely. Count on it. So what happens is I did well after all those shows, like all the 4 shows I've done before the Chicago. I didn't celebrate after any of them. I actually went after the first one because it was like 3 weeks apart from the Vancouver Pro. I actually went to Denny's, but it was shit. Like all I had was like a 3-egg white omelette on accident. The guys couldn't get my you know, like my English, I guess, I don't know, but it was terrible. So after the show, what I wanted was like food that I could trust. And my mom was there. And like, she's the best chef in the world. It's not because it's my mom. She literally is.
Right. There's no sense in going out when you have your mom there. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, of course. And I'm like, Chris, do you want to come for dinner? And he's like, well, people know that I never go out after shows because it's too noisy, whatever. So he wouldn't go to a restaurant. But his hotel was right in front of mine.
Right.
So I guess he couldn't say no.
So what did you got? You had like what'd you have, like an Airbnb or something like that?
No. So every time I travel, I usually prefer Airbnbs because we have a kitchen, right?
Right.
However, there's this Residence Inn, which is a Marriott hotel everywhere pretty much, and they have a kitchen inside. So we took at the hotel because we had a kitchen. For me, it's always better. Yeah.
Yeah. That looks great.
I can't be the guy to trust like those meal prep companies, as good as they may be. On prep, I just want to be like me, 100%.
Well, that wasn't a diet meal that Chris was eating there. That was a after the show cheat meal for sure.
Yeah, pretty much like pasta. Well, we had pasta, steak, not even a dessert.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming for dinner at the Olympia with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be better than Cheesecake Factory. I can promise you that.
And it's open all night. That's the real advantage. There you go. Well,
yeah, that's a picture I like it.
Yeah, you had a whirlwind year already. Now you go to the Olympia, and you know what the truth is? A lot of guys are just happy to get to the Olympia. I think you have a very good chance of doing very well at the Olympia because of your great symmetry, because of your great conditioning you bring into the stage. You have good stage presence. What is Chris's feedback on your chances at the Olympia? Does he believe a top 5 is in the cards?
Yeah, that's his feedback. He says, well, and I'll be honest, man, like I've only done this show. And so what's really funny, there's a lot of people that like look great on Instagram, and I'm not one of them. So even Chris, he said like, okay, let me take a picture of you before the Chicago. He even posted his pictures as a side triceps is on his profile. And as he gets his phone, he literally says, okay, I knew you would look shit on pictures. Because it's what it is. I don't look good on pictures for whatever reason. Yeah. But if Chris says you're going to be top 5, I believe it.
Yeah.
Because I'll be fair with you. I'll be very, very honest. As I told you, the first time I reached out to Chris, I thought I needed the whole year off to grow. He's like, no, you have enough muscle, you can be a pro, whatever. So even though I didn't believe like the potential, the physical potential, at least for this year to actually be a pro, I'm like, well, if he says so, I just trust him like with my life 100%.
Yeah, Chris is not a liar, so he's pretty.
Yeah, like I honestly don't think he would say I believe you can make top 5 if he didn't believe so. And I trust him like so much that if he believes so, I'm just gonna put in the work and go with it. So obviously I can't promise anything. Like I haven't stood beside the guys in 212. People say I'm taller than I should, but it doesn't matter what people say. To me, it only means what Chris says.
And Eduardo Correa was very tall too, and he did well.
Yeah.
For that. Let me ask you this question. Tell us something about Marcello Alfonsi that we don't know. Give me some factoids about yourself that maybe the general public out there has no idea, or maybe I have no idea. Any interesting stories?
But regarding bodybuilding or outside of that?
Regarding anything. Maybe you might, I don't know, you make pizza pies in your spare time? What do you do? What do you do when you're not bodybuilding?
Well, so this is a thing. So 2023, as I told you, I was in bodybuilding because, I was still on a diet and training because I'm a coach as well. So what I believe is people should know that diet and training is not about the looks. It's about being healthy and having a good life quality. So 2023 arrives and I'm like, well, I can't bodybuild this year, but I'm keep on dieting and training. However, there's a part of me that loves traveling. So 2023 was awesome. Like most bodybuilders would die if they knew they couldn't bodybuild anymore. Yeah. I was like, well, I can't do that, but you know what? I'm just going to enjoy the other part of me, which is hiking, traveling around, eating good food, So obviously I was on a diet for the most part, but I was still like eating good food. I was hiking a lot. I was like traveling the world pretty much. So I've been to Europe. I've been throughout all Brazil last year, traveling around for most of the shows to actually be with my clients. So I was like, if I can't do this for myself, I'm going to live my dream through my clients, right? Which is what I did last year.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let's address the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
you were told by your doctors you can't bodybuild because your ejection fraction was messed up from the COVID you had. I mean, I have to imagine that you were very depressed over this.
I wasn't depressed, but yes, I was sad. I was very sad because I'm like, well, what's going to give my life meaning now? You know?
Right.
But
did you think you never would be able to bodybuild again at that point?
It did cross my mind that I never would be able to. But I was like counting on the fact that maybe having a year less stressed, like stressing less about things, would be the main factor to healing my heart, which is actually what I believe happened. So I was like off drugs all year. I was on medication for the heart all year. And I mean, for a while I bodybuild, I'm still
What were you taking medication-wise? Like a beta blocker?
I was a beta blocker, which I still have to take, and I'm going to have to take forever. For a while I bodybuild. One called Entresto, which is pretty much like for blood pressure. Aldactone at 25 mgs a day. That's also going to be within me forever. And the last one is one that actually all bodybuilders should know of. It's called dapagliflozin. The brand name would be Forxiga, like Forxiga. And the good thing about Brazil, man, is like, well, bodybuilding in Brazil is growing so much that the doctors are really specializing with bodybuilding. So my doctor said, like, listen, we will heal you, and after that, we can continue to bodybuild. We just need to actually heal you before, and then we'll see what happens. But what actually made, outside of the drugs that I had to take, and outside of being natural for the whole year and like doing a lot of cardio and losing weight, all that, what I believe actually was the main factor to heal my heart, and that's like just a personal belief, was a less stressful year, which actually led to a different mindset leading to this year's prep. Because I've always been the kind of guy that's going to like measure all my salt in every meal, even in the off season, and like be following the 100%. And I'm still that guy. However, nowadays I do understand balance a little bit more. And balance doesn't mean to like give up on one thing to do other. It means you can do both together. So one thing that like we can talk about, I'm really good friends. Like my best friend, I started bodybuilding together with him in 2014, is Eric Wildberger. He won Pittsburgh Pro this year. He won Optimum Classic this and last year. He placed second at the New York Pro this year. And I was prepping. Like I had just started prep with Chris, but I was traveling all around with him. Right. Because he was competing. And I was like doing the prep with him. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to follow you into the shows as well. So I was like traveling around while I was on the plan. I didn't miss a single meal. I didn't miss a single cardio. I didn't miss a single workout. I didn't miss a single check-in. And as you know, Chris, from 11 weeks out, check-ins are daily. And I was still traveling, I was still having fun. I was still having a good time with my friends. Right. So I do attribute a lot of my success this year to actually having learned the balance a little bit more, having learned that the most important thing is not to measure every single gram of salt since the off season, but it's actually to just simply get the basic shit done. And it doesn't have to be, like down to the minute, as far as you do everything until the end of the day. So
yeah, but you know what? I think your attention to detail is what makes you very successsul too. Yeah. What you're saying is don't be a neurotic about it, but at the same time, being organized and being able to get everything done and not missing stuff is what is your secret to success, essentially.
Yeah. Which, well, I never ever cheated on prep. Right. Literally.
I can tell. I can see your conditioning.
I never will. But at the same time, I don't have to open hand of like being with my family or friends during the weekend on a day off. It doesn't mean I have to eat. Right. I won't eat, but I'm going to be with him.
No, yeah, you don't have to give up life, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can still prep and have a life.
And I think what you're saying is that year off in 23 is what taught you that balance, because it basically took away bodybuilding for you. And then you got it back, and I think you had a different perspective on it.
I'm like, well, if I get stressed as I used to, because man, Dave, I can recall like moments before I ever stepped on stage. So when I moved to London, for example, I haven't competed as a bodybuilder at that point. And I remember my dad, he went all the way from Brazil to visit me in London. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't going to prep yet. Again, I just went on stage like a year after that. But I had a coach, so I wanted to be on the diet. I do remember my dad being there for me to visit me. We went to a restaurant. I brought my Tupperware with me. And then they said, like, you can't have this here. So I went outside, had my meal while my dad had his meal inside. So this is one memory that I regret a lot because I wasn't even prepping, you know?
Right. Well, that's how dedicated you are. I always say, you know, and I've heard Nick Walker say the same thing, that he hasn't missed a meal in 5 years or 6 years. I didn't miss a meal in 10 years, you know, when I was bodybuilding. And that's the secret to success. It's consistency. Yeah. And I'm sure if you ask Dorian and Ronnie and Jay, they'll give you the same answer, you know, so that you're doing it right. But it is important to have perspective and to have some balance. And I'm glad you have that. And you know what? It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Congratulations, not only on the pro card, the pro win, the Olympia qualification, and I get to eat your mom's food in Las Vegas this year for the Olympia. So I'm excited as well.
That's awesome. Well, I got to ask you that. I mean, and please, it doesn't matter that you're friends with Chris. It doesn't matter that we're doing the podcast here. Would you say you also believe in a top 5 possible?
I think so. You know, I'll tell you why. Because I think that you have the structure and I think you have the conditioning level that is what we see on the Olympia stage. And a lot of guys can't bring that. Number one, they might have muscle and they might have conditioning, but they don't have structure. Yeah. Or they have structure and they have flow, but they don't bring conditioning. So I think you bring the two necessary elements to that stage. And, you know, the great thing about the 212 class is you can't weigh more than 212. So everyone's in the same boat, essentially.
Yeah. My weight was actually 95.6. But I'll tell you what, man, I know I can add muscle. I know I can be even sharper. I know I can be better in 11 weeks.
Would you like to eventually go into the open class in the future?
Well, as long as my health allows me, yes. And I'll tell you why. To me, bodybuilding has always been about like self-improvement and progress. So if my body wants to grow, I'm not going to hold it back because of a class. You know, I cannot be Mr. Olympia. But to me, again, as I told you, so Chris took me 11 weeks out from all we've done, from the Chicago pretty much. So it was like an 11-week run. When we started, I told him, like, I need an off season. He said, no. I'm like, okay, I don't really think I had the potential yet, but I'm going to trust you. So if he says I can be better, and if he says I can be on top 5, I'm just going to put in the work. That's all I can do, literally. And as I was talking to you before, maybe it wasn't recorded, Jose Raymond, which is like one of my favorite bodybuilders ever, is going to take me on for like the last 6 or 4 weeks before the O. So I heard that to me, man.
So you're going to go live with him, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. So it means the world. Like, honestly, like, to be very honest with you, people ask me, like, how is it to win the Chicago Pro? How is it to be prepping for the O? People say I actually made history because there's not a lot of people that won their pro debuts like a week after they turned pros. And all I can say is, like, listen, it didn't even sink in that I'm a pro yet. you know? So I'm just going to keep on working. And the funny thing is, I had 11 weeks from starting point to Chicago win. And now I'm going to have 11 weeks from like a ready physique to the O. So we can only improve from here. Well,
best of luck in that journey. We'll be following you obviously very closely, and we'll see you in Vegas. Any final thank yous you want to throw out there?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to meet you at the O. Thanks for everyone that's been supporting me. I'm a few of the Brazilians that's going to be being myself. You know, I'm never going to sell out or anything. I'm just myself. Because the scene there is booming so much, but, you know, I don't really want to go back. So yeah, I just appreciate the support from worldwide because it's been really overwhelming. I'm just so grateful. And all I can say is I'm going to work to give it back to you guys.
Sounds great. That's going to take us, guys, to the end of another episode of RxMuscle Spotlight. I'm Dave Palumbo with Marcello Alfonsi. We'll see you next time.